I know this week was a tough one since we last got on Spaces here. We all had to witness Josh Allen vomit all over himself and cost the Bills a football game, but we are past that. We're on to the Las Vegas Raiders, not the Oakland Raiders. I saw Greg here. We're on to Vegas Raiders, and this has to be the get right game, right? Like Greg and I were talking on our show. Even the thought of talking about a loss, like I'm not even ready to get there. This is almost must-win territory to just get it right and get the narrative off their backs, right?
Yeah, they kept asking me last night, like, would you go on my effing spaces? I'm like, no one wants to come on your effing spaces, but they keep forcing everybody to go on their spaces, and I don't even want to. It's such a stupid show. Oh shit!
Hey, Greg, your mic's on. Fair warning, all the mics are hot here.
Don't worry, that's how he treats everybody.
If we get canceled for that bit, I think it was worth it, to be honest. So, anyways, thanks for that, Greg. I am going to file a complaint to his actual real life boss for putting us on there. But anyways, how's everybody feeling now that you've had a chance to decompress, see the game, hear everybody's explanations of what's going on and how they're going to address it going forward? Where are you at going into this Raiders home opener?
Well, first off, the fact that he left right after he said that is killing me. But it was tough to watch. And I think what made it more annoying, I understand that the Jets defense is a top 5 in the league. It's going to be. It's phenomenal. And watching that game, every offensive snap, you could just see how tight their coverage was, how fast they are, how quickly they get to the ball, and how they try to make a play on it. Like, when I say what I say, it has to be said that the Jets defense is stellar and deserves all the credit in the world. But it's disappointing because even with that knowledge, these mistakes were preventable. And I understand that one of the biggest narratives that's come out of that game is this is the take that comes with Josh Allen's give and take. This is what you get when you have him as a quarterback. But I personally don't believe that's a good enough excuse. Now, when it comes to certain situations where maybe he tries throwing a deep ball and, it's a 50-50 ball and it gets picked, but you could make the case that it was like a fair decision, I'll live with that. These were not fair decisions. These were preventable mistakes that he alone caused to a point where it's unacceptable and something that it's so insanely preventable that it makes me upset to see. Because when we talk about Josh Allen, we're in year 6. Year 6 is the year where those types of mistakes, those really, really bad ones, can't happen. And listen, he's a gunslinging quarterback. He moves the ball down the field. The Bills have traditionally had a vertical offense. That leads to turnovers. I understand that. But this is not the byproduct of a vertical offense. This is not the byproduct of aggressive play calling, because Ken Dorsey, in my opinion, called a good conservative game against a tough defense that punishes you for mistakes. What this was Josh Allen mentally regressing. And I'm not saying that he's regressing as a whole, that his whole year is doomed, that he's not going to bounce back. But what I'm saying is at year 6, this type of quarterback play is unacceptable, especially in a divisional game where your opposing team lost their starting quarterback. And now you have to, you had essentially the golden opportunity to start the year 1-0, have a conference win, have a divisional win, especially in MetLife Stadium. So my takeaway from that game, and I apologize for being long-winded, that cannot happen again. And it is not something that I think could ever be excused, especially at this point in Allen's career. And later on in the year, I hope that he adjusts and makes the right decisions, or at least if he has a turnover, it's something that we can all look back and say, well, you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world, because this cannot happen for a team that is in a Super Bowl window. And I understand it'll be open with Josh Allen anymore, especially in year 6.
What's going on, Thomas? I see you there. Bills all day here before we get Thomas on. Always see you with the support. So wanted to give you the mic here and give you some space. So what's happening?
Hey, I was at the game on Monday. I wish I was going to the home opener because I think that the Bills will pull through. But honestly, it was all on Josh. Josh was 27 for 32 on 15 air yards or less. And I think that his problem was he was trying to showboat a little bit and he was trying to force it instead of just like people used to make fun of the Tom Brady Patriots for dinking and dunking. But you have to take what the defense gives you. My section was a huge rowdy bunch of Bills fans. I had a great vantage point. And it was just disappointing to see. I don't know if it's regression or Josh just wasn't in the right mindset. Maybe didn't get enough sleep the night before or something. I don't know the angles, but it's that Josh is, he has to be understanding that the entire, 52 other people that are there, including the inactives, they're all underneath him in terms of he can do dumb things and it ruins everybody else's great play. Stephon Diggs had 1.9 yards of separation on average and had 10 catches on 13 targets. I mean, the people were performing. And if you look at the tape, Kincaid was catching the ball, Knox was catching the ball, and they were open underneath. And I just think Josh needs to start being happier with small chunk plays and living to die another day. Something that, sad for the Aaron Rodgers injury, but something Rodgers used to do quite well was, first, second down, if it's a pass play and he's not seeing what he wants, he throws it away. Bam, restart, do it again, hit him again. And that's how he ends up with stat lines of like 38 touchdowns and 6 interceptions over the years. So all love to cover one. Joe, huge fan. Aaron, huge fan. And I hope that Josh can continue to grow in understanding that it's like you don't need it all at once. The game is 60 minutes. So Thank you, everyone.
For sure. And I think all the criticisms that have been tossed Josh's way this week are fair. I also think now I've been very harsh, but haven't had a chance to watch it back a couple times now. I think some of the things you pointed out, I saw some really nice things out of the offense for week one, considering they haven't played all that much and they're playing against a really good defense in that situation. And two, like big picture perspective, when I think of Josh, I think of, 80% of the time, 85% of the time, you're going to get top 10 really elite style QB play. And maybe 15, 20% of the time, you're going to get stuff similar to what we saw week one. And we've seen it really throughout his career. Daboll and Josh Allen had some stinker performances as well. I think we all just look at Dorsey and what's going on with this offense. But Josh has put up bad performances, being loose with the ball, turning the ball over. But when you look at it in the aggregate of his career, it's probably only 15, 20% of the games or 15, 20% of his snaps get kind of crazy. I can live there with the other 80% being that elite ability that gives you a chance to be a Super Bowl contender, because that means you're still going to win 11 games. That means you're still going to have a chance to be in the playoffs, be a division winner year in and year out. And so it sucks to sit here and have this one performance. And guys, too, this one performance, a couple of those interceptions I actually don't really care about. The first one was a punt to me. So while it adds to the value that there was 4 turnovers in total, that one didn't do much for me. It's the situational turnovers. But even that one where he was going to Gabe Davis, Josh makes that throw. Like, I also, when he makes that throw, I praise him and want him to do that. And so I understand, this one was off, but the margins are slim in the NFL between the performance we saw from Josh and the other performances we've seen and praised him for, where Fred Warner almost gets a finger on the ball, but he doesn't, and that ball goes for a touchdown. The margins are very slim between these games that we saw from Josh and the big time elite ones. So I think that's a perspective we have to go have. Also,
I'm almost more mad about him underthrowing that deep
Aaron,
shot too.
I want to just follow up and say I completely understand, and I don't want it to sound like I'm not happy with the way Allen plays most of the time, because I love the fact that he's a gunslinger, and I think what he brings to the table is something that really so few quarterbacks in this league are capable of doing. It's just a matter of, I understand over aggressive nature. I understand the 85-15 that we talk about. That didn't feel like a 15. That felt like something so off the cusp that I can't support it or justify it. And I understand, but
it was like 8 plays that were like out of control. And then everything else was within normal ranges of what we should expect from Josh.
Yes, 70% completion percentage, absolutely. And when he was game managing, checking down, and getting those yards after the catch, it was great. But I can't turn a blind eye to it. I'm not saying you are.
For sure.
But an arm punt is still a turnover, right? And they had an opportunity to sustain the drive. The second one, just a bad decision. And then the third interception, I get he makes that throw most of the time, but also this is a drive where if you get a first down on that play, you're bleeding the clock and possibly get a field goal. So it's like, yes, I get that these turnovers happen, but the degree and the margin of the decision making to me was just something I can't defend. And I usually try to defend it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's here to defend it. I'm saying going forward, like maintaining our perspective. Chris, you were making a point there, though. I want to let you get back in here and make that if you're available, unless you got taken by TSA.
Yo,
No,
I'm here.
there he is.
So, two things about Josh's performance. You guys covered the picks. I'm almost more mad about him underthrowing James Cook on that deep shot that would have been an easy touchdown. I don't know how many times I've talked about James Cook going deep on those wheel routes in these spaces, but it's been a lot, and we finally saw one, and it was open, and he just didn't put enough air under it. But that would have been a 6 for sure. And that play where he ran out to the left and tried to hurdle a guy when there were still 2 other guys between him and the first down. It's like, come on, man. You at a certain point you got to stop doing this stuff. Like there's nothing to be gained from taking a hit in that situation. Like go down, go on to the next play.
He's not going to.
Yeah.
No.
Look, I like that. I like Josh's version of beast mode, which but I mean, like, it's just got to be tempered to avoid injury.
How many? When he got drafted, I think we spent so much time saying like that completion percentage. That's the one thing that can't change. Like guys never change that. He is going to be who he is. When really we probably should have been talking more about the overall Josh Allen experience and saying like you've got to settle. We as fans are going to have to settle in taking the good with the bad. Like if we want the good hurdles, he's going to make some of those split second decisions that aren't the good ones too. And I don't think it can be turned on and off. And I don't think there's much of a governor that goes in it. Like it's easy for us to watch and criticize it. And I think everyone in the entire Western New York region and Bill's organization cringes when those things happen, but it is such a split second decision and you are doing it in just like the midst of battle and you either have it or you don't. And Josh is a guy that has it. It's like, I'm not comparing him to Kobe Bryant in the ways of like how dominant careers were, but those types of guys, like you couldn't make Kobe just like play regular in a preseason game. Like he's either playing and he's playing like Kobe Bryant or he's not playing at all. And I think Josh is that same way.
Look, Steph Curry knows when he's got a shot.
About it.
Look, I mean, it's a split second decision.
He also airballs some of those shots and people don't talk about him as much, but like he misses some of those ones too, but you want him to take them when he has them.
But he doesn't take every single shot.
I'm sorry, I'm saying.
Right.
Many people ask us the best way to support us here at Cover One, and that is to sign up to become a Cover One Pass member. That contribution helps give us the access to all the data and information we use to create the content that you love.
And I think most importantly, brings you into our community of insiders. It's a great community based on Slack. I know a lot of people don't want to be on social media anymore or be in on those conversations. We bring all of it to you right in our great community of educated fans. And most importantly, you get access to our content creators.
Even better than that, everybody loves merch. You get awesome t-shirts, a cool decal, and a letter from the Cover One team signed directly to you.
All for $60. That gets you the entire season, next year's free agency and draft. $60. Click the link in the description. Cover One Insider. Become one today.
I feel like Josh is going to get it together. He's got to understand that you got to take what they give you. If they give you deep, you take deep. If they give you mid, I'd like to see a little more action with the run game. Some pulling and just some good, like some nice mixing it up between zone and stuff. But it's, I think the biggest thing is that we have to start to focus on the positive, and we dwelled all week as Bills fans on Josh's negativity. But the number one thing is we did great. Like the Bills defense really was awesome that Josh put them in terrible predicaments. And time again, besides the one long run play where, again, gap integrity matters.
Right.
But the Bills defense they were rallying to the ball. Milano is still an all-pro. And I'm really looking forward to Sunday. And I'm glad it's back to a Sunday game at a regular kickoff. And Monday nights throw everything off.
No, you're right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I mean, I think that the positives are, undersold for sure from this game. I mean, the defense did look really good. That long run play, I mean, that was a pretty bad breakdown by multiple guys. I mean, Matt Milano pushed Terrell Bernard in the back as he's trying to get into the trying to make a play there, and I don't know. You saw
Yeah.
Micah got blown up. Poyer took a terrible angle and got spin cycled. Like it was a bad play, but
Trey had
overall,
bad.
Trey had a bad rep on that one. But
Brees Hall has wheels, though.
He does.
That guy has wheels.
For sure.
Oh, yeah, he's nasty. He for sure is nasty. I keep coming back to, I hate to be that guy because I hate when analytics like makes claims, but I care so little about run defense in terms of like, that's the thing that is this team's Achilles heel. Like it didn't matter, right? To your point, it's still the bend but don't break. Getting big runs put them in field goal range, but they weren't able to capitalize on those types of things. I think part of the problem with how we're talking about the good of the game, obviously, is it felt so bad being in prime time to lose it in that way. But also, I think the defense, once Aaron Rodgers went down, the expectation was to hold that team under 20 points. So I think you met expectations because they feel toothless without Rodgers. That was the big sell going into that game. So while I was impressed with the defense, I think Matt Milano looked better than I've ever seen him, which is terrifying if you're other opposing teams. And there was a lot of excitement on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think it's the talking point because it became expected with Zach Wilson in, right?
Yeah, it's true. And where do the Jets go from here? It'll be really interesting to see. I mean, I think that's something that came up on the postgame show. That might be their best game of the season or their best moment of the season, right? Like beating the division rival in prime time. Because they have this great defense, but I mean, it's only going to take you so
That
far.
defense will keep them in. It'll keep them in a handful of games. They'll be a sticky opponent and annoying, but yeah, I think that they become quite toothless here. Thomas has been sitting in here, and there's an opinion I kind of want to shift to in regards to this defense. Heading into this matchup, want to more transition to the future than looking back at that game any more than we have to. The Raiders, obviously, they ran some of that big set stuff that the Bills are looking to do, but they also have a big grown man, Josh Jacobs in their backfield. They've got to be licking their chops a little bit, seeing some of the big runs given up, seeing what Breece Hall was able to do, knowing that if they can get Taron Johnson with a tight end in the run game, that they might have a matchup advantage in those types of situations. Do you expect to see a change, maybe some more linebackers on the field with a team that wants to get heavy with the Bills, or are we just staying put and McDermott's going nickel no matter what?
You talking to me, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I led with, hey, this one's for Thomas, but yeah.
I'm sorry, my apologies. I'm all over the place this morning. Good morning, everybody. I don't think the Bills' run defense, if you look at the numbers, outside of the couple big runs, was not. I mean, they did pretty well. He was 2.3 yards per carry, pretty much ineffective for most part. Breece Hall had those big runs, but outside of that, kind of kept him clamped down. But I mean, he's one of the best running backs in the league, so you're going to expect those to happen. Most running backs, we saw Delvin last year, Derrick Henry's done it to us in the past. Every team has a running back that just breaks them every once in a while. It's unfortunate. But in terms of Josh Jacobs, I think what you're probably going to see is a very similar approach to what they did this last week, because very seldom do you see McDermott make wholesale changes. He knew that early on Breece Hall was being effective, and they switched. They didn't bring a linebacker on. They didn't take out Taylor Rapp and maybe put Tyrell Dodson or whomever he decided was going to be the next best fit. He kept things going, steady Eddie. And so I think that there's opportunities, but to be honest with you, Josh Jacobs isn't as explosive as Breece Hall is. So I think as long as you can, like they've done in the past, keep everything in front of them and they can get better at tackling, I think they should be okay. I don't expect to see a massive philosophy change.
Saw Eric put it out on Twitter that, having Taylor Rapp out there and stacked over in interior gaps maybe isn't such a great idea. And he'd like to see Dorian Williams in situations like that. It's his first game, obviously. Like as the season goes on, maybe we'll see him get some more reps.
I saw that as well. And I don't see that situation where McDermott is going to go a whole lot lighter. I know people want more DBs on the field. I think to Eric's point, whether it's Dorian Williams, my point maybe was this is a good time to start thinking about getting Christian Kirksey up off the practice squad and having a veteran linebacker presence that you can bring in for some of those situations where maybe it isn't, he's not coming in and trying to take the starting job here right away, but when you need that third linebacker on the field, I think that maybe he raises the floor of a mix of size, experience that gives you what you're looking for instead of trying to wrap into that hole and get more DBs on the field. We haven't really seen, to Greg's point, on the people looking for more of the dime type stuff and Taylor Rapp's usage in that. We didn't really see the Bills get put in that situation with obviously Zach Wilson and not Aaron Rodgers. But in terms of, I mean, this has been a talking point for years now, Bills heading into games like Patriots games, even Bengals, the way the Bengals are able to run on teams is, do they go back to actual traditional base or can they stay in that nickel? And they really just want to stay and make the offense pry them at a nickel. And a few teams have done it with success. I think Miami might have figured out something in getting Taron Johnson in space against bigger people that might not be something you want to do. But I don't know that watching the Raiders versus the Broncos and that offense, like, it's very top heavy and Jacobs is good and he runs hard, but they don't scare me to do that for 4 quarters consistently and win those reps against the Bills.
I do like the idea of bringing Kirksey up to match up with Jacobs, particularly. Get more size to defend the run, because you're right. I mean, like, that's most of their offense. And if you can slow him down, then and make Jimmy G try to beat you through the air, then I think you're in a winning position.
Yeah, exactly. We can't. The Bills cannot allow them to have one of these games that we've seen much of in the McDermott era. Even though I say run defense doesn't matter, I can think of a stretch almost every season where there's some game where a team that probably doesn't have business winning. I can think of that Colts game a few years back where it was a little bit rainy and Jonathan Taylor just went off on them. Way back to McDermott's first year, the Saints ran on this defense more than anyone I've ever seen run on somebody and just impose themselves. And it's tough because it just keeps you off the field. It maintains the clock for the other team. Even though I don't believe in like possession time mattering, I do believe in keeping Josh Allen off the field sucks for the Bills. And so if they're taking long possessions, moving the ball, and getting points in the end, like that bend but don't break, if they're continuously putting up points at the end of drives, that's going to be really frustrating type of game to watch and play. You're right, Chris. I think get this game in Jimmy G's hands and then let guys like Matt Milano, your safeties, Taron Johnson, be disruptive. Because Jimmy G is great when everything's right and all the situation's perfect. He's very much like a Kirk Cousins. But if you force him to be the guy to win the game for you, I feel like he has a little bit of Fitzpatrick to him. He will make some plays where he'll put the ball in the air for you.
Now, all this is not to say that I think Terrell Bernard needs to be taken out of the game necessarily. I mean, I thought that he looked pretty good, better than the sort of the buzz around him was during that game. But there are situations against a team like the Raiders where maybe you do have 3 linebackers out there. And I know you hate it when anyone suggests taking Taron Johnson off the field. I'm not talking about like more than half the snaps or anything. But if you're talking about a set with Kirksey and Milano and Taron Johnson, or Kirksey and Milano and Terrell Bernard, like, I do think that you can kind of mix that up for when it's a situation when it's you've got it's a likely run situation.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I do have a hard time in any scenario removing Taron Johnson from the field because I do think he's still going to be one of your top 3 assets in run defense, no matter the size of the players around that you put in. And I get situationally, maybe the size is a disadvantage. I've even just said so if teams can isolate him. So I do think there's, if matchups present itself and you have a team continuously isolating him and getting him stuck on blocks, then he becomes a disadvantage. But that doesn't happen frequently. And even in last game, like, he's just so the difference in those reps of Taylor Rapp near the line of scrimmage that Eric was showing, and the way that Taron Johnson plays, I think is one of the biggest endorsements of Taron Johnson's game for his size, that he's able to play so sneaky in the run game like that. And so it's hard for me. You're right. It's hard for me to see scenarios where getting them off the field is a bonus for the Bills, but they are going to come up and they're going to present themselves. And teams want to do that. We've seen it year in, year out. Teams want the Bills out of nickel. They, like, as much as everyone wants to see the Bills get into these newer looks or play different types of defenses, offensive coordinators have been struggling for years to get them to do anything different. Let's see. I got about 20, 30 minutes left here. Going forward. Is anyone coming into town this weekend, by the way? It's the home opener. Anyone? Thomas, I know you're out in Rochester. Are you coming in for the game?
Yeah, my wife, Jess, and my parents, we're all going to be there.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll be getting there at 7:30. Well, no, we'll be getting there around 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it should be perfect, elite, Western New York weather here. We got Whittle wanting to come in.
Don't forget about the block party tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I was going to lean into that. LaShawn, I saw the thumbs up. I'm guessing LaShawn's coming into town. I see you out here. Listen, if you want to hop in, welcome to hop in. Bill's Reddit, see you. Tons of supporters. Lauren out there, see you too. Yeah, so Whittle, before I let you get on here, tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to head down and meet Greg at the 500 block of Main Street. Leftern is our sponsor for our show, and they are hosting a block party down there right on the 500 block. If you're not from the Buffalo area, it's right in the middle, Main Street. Really cool spot. He's got it all roped off. It's going to be beautiful weather all day tomorrow. Tons of vendors, food vendors, apparel vendors, all the guys you see on Twitter here. So you'll probably be seeing people, friends online posting pictures of being there all day. And then I think Rumblings has something going on over at Resurgence after. So our event is noon to 6, and then from 6, I think later till 9 maybe, is the event at Resurgence. So there's stuff going on all day long, all weekend long here in Buffalo. I'm looking out my window right now here in Buffalo, New York. It's sunny. It's about 60 something, perfect fall weather. You couldn't ask for a better home opener weekend. So if you're in the area and you're looking for something to do, 500 block of Main Street is going to be popping. It's going to be a lot of fun. Greg and I will be there live, like I said, doing a podcast. We got Nate Bulldog, Catherine Fitzgerald, Alex Brasky, Pat Moran, bunch of people coming out. Going to be talking more Bills Raiders, figuring out what happened to Josh. So make sure you come down. It's going to be a good time. Whittle, I see you out there, buddy. What's going on?
I love that it's beautiful weather, but it's not beautiful weather in my heart.
That's because it looks like you lost the bet and had to put a Jets.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
I know we got the Raiders coming in, and the Raiders are not a talentless team. They do have, they obviously have weapons on both sides of the ball. Young talent that could pose an issue if we're not playing well, we're not playing to our potential, or at least part of our potential. I still think the Bills are a really good team. I still think Josh is a top 3 quarterback. I still think a lot of teams are worried about Buffalo, and if Josh figures it out. My question is, this is clearly the second scene in Josh's career, and it's the part where the other teams say, no matter what, we are not going to let you beat us with SportsCenter highlight plays. You're going to have to dink and dunk us to death, and if we make a mistake, then we'll just chalk it up to that, and you can take advantage of that. I think that's what's going on now. I feel like that's what happened to Mahomes a couple years ago. I think it was 2021 when the Chiefs started off. The first 6 games was really, hey, sit down. Come on, relax. Jesus Christ. My dog is a nut. I feel like Mahomes went through this and kind of figured it out with, I guess, the help of the coaching staff. He just kind of took what was given to him.
He talked about it on that
Is
quarterback
Josh going to
show.
figure this out?
Mahomes, he talked about it on that Netflix quarterback show. You know, you saw him. I don't remember what game they were covering at the time, but he comes off the field. And he's like, "Yeah, they're just laying back, so I'm just going to take whatever's there." And you know, that's the type of mindset you got to have is you know, to take what you can get and then just keep moving down the field.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if Josh is gonna. I don't know if the structure around Josh is gonna help him get there the way it did Mahomes. Like Mahomes had Eric Bieniemy, he had Andy Reid. I mean, he had a guy like right there on the sideline, like in his ear, dude. What's up? Like you holding him accountable. And I'm not saying that the coaching staff and the team is not holding Josh accountable. I'm not saying that Josh is holding himself accountable. But I need less talk in press conferences and more action on the field. And we're not getting and we haven't been getting that.
Well,
do you guys see like how do you feel like this is going to play out? Because I don't really have faith in Dorsey. We're running a ton out of shotgun, and it just seems like teams know that I mean, they know that they can win up front against us because we're constantly retreating in pass sets, and we're running out of pass sets. You got two tight ends, you got big running backs. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. So last year, there's a little bit of mess towards the end of the year that it's hard to determine exactly what we saw at the end of the year. That, unfortunately, because of the way that we saw this first game this year, has spilled over into this year. And so the last handful of times we've seen Josh Allen hasn't been pretty, right? But we still got to remember who he is and what he's done and kind of the nuance, like the variables of what we just saw. The other teams that they play are not the New York Jets. We know lately the Jets have given Josh Allen fits, and sometimes there's just QB matchups that don't work. Look at what the New York Giants were able to do to Tom Brady and the best team ever. The way they were able to pressure him, everybody else tried to replicate exactly what the Giants were doing because they were the only team that could do it. Sometimes you run into a team that just has answers for you. Very few teams have shown that they have answers to your point, Whittle, of saying, hey, Josh Allen, we're going to make you beat us playing this style of football. We're not going to let you get those highlights. Like, okay, I don't think the Raiders have the manpower or the depth to stop Josh from taking those shots, from stop him from doing and dictating the way that he wants to. The Jets have players at every level that can do that. And the way they were playing on Monday night, they were playing opportunistic. They were attacking right from the jump, from snaps. Like everyone was giving Josh Allen a hard time about running out of pockets. And there wasn't always pressure, but the immediate sudden burst of pressure that they were getting probably triggered him to get out of the pocket. Like this is an explosive defense that has presented problems for Dorsey and Josh Allen here as of late. And so I think you got to chalk that one up. They got to figure out the Jets, but I don't think that translates to this is how the Bills offense is going to look week in and week out against other defenses, and other defenses are going to take stuff away in the same way. I dare them to try because I do think Josh is going to have plenty of games where it's led by big play ESPN stuff that we've seen from him for the last 3-4 years here.
I think there is also evidence that he was being patient during that game. I mean, there were, the few, like, I think that the few risky throws that ended up going the other way are kind of skewing perception a little bit because.
Correct. It was what, 8 plays total?
Yeah. I mean, the stuff, I know you talked about wanting to see more of it, but the stuff to Knox and Kincaid, there were a lot of throws to Cook in the flats. There were there's a bunch of evidence that like he is willing to take what's given to him, but I think to a point, right? Like I think he doesn't maybe or hasn't in that Jets game at least didn't show the patience to keep on that trajectory like throughout 60 minutes. And that's what he's got to do, right? Is it might get boring to take what's given to you over and over and over and over and over and over again, but that's what you got to do to not put the ball in harm's way.
I agree. I'm not saying that he didn't take the checkdowns. I'm not saying that he wasn't patient. I'm saying that what's given to you if that's what they're giving you, then you just have to take it. the interception on 3rd and 8, there was no reason to throw that football at all. He could have just ran and got the first down, or if not the first down, close enough to it. On 3rd and 2, after handing the ball off to Murray twice, there's no reason to line up and go empty. There's no reason to be. I mean, if you're going to spread them out, that's fine, but you should still be handing the ball off. Once Rodgers went out, the Jets are not going to score unless we give them the opportunity to score. We should have salted that game away. And that is, if I don't have an issue with what Dorsey called as far as the concepts or the route combinations, I have no issue with that. I don't like the majority of our runs being out of shotgun. I don't like the majority of our plays being out of shotgun. But on 3rd and 2, sometimes sometimes what I get from what the play caller between, whether it's Dorsey calling it or Josh checking into it, sometimes I get a sense that they don't want, they're overthinking the game. They're making it harder than it has to be. It's simple. 3rd and 2 against this wide set, you're running the football. Like if their alignment up front is wide, you run the football, and you run away from Quentin Williams. You have Damian Harris and you have this guy Latavius Murray, who are powerful backs who are probably going to get you on most attempts, 3 to 4 yards just by hitting a hole, getting hit, and falling forward. I need to see more of that. And when I say more of that, I mean more of the keeping it simple. Just kissing the play. Keep it simple, stupid. It is 3rd and 2. We just need a first down and to continue to drop. It's 3rd and 8. All the defenders are away from you. The only guy you need to beat is DJ Reed. He's 10 yards away. You need 8 for a first down. He's a corner. Run him.
Pardon me, Whittle. 1 second on that play. Josh had that. If you watch the play, I was watching it live at the game. The entire section went nuts because he had to slow down, pull up, wind back, then fire. And it was like he could have crossed the line and been untouched, just barely making it because he was moving full speed. Then he had to slow down to gather himself, change direction, move his left, shoulder forward to be able to release. And it was just we were all like, what are you doing? But I agree 100% with every point you just said. Was so in tune with just take what's there. Keep it simple.
LeSean and I and Brad and the rest of us were at the game, and it was just it was mind-boggling. It was mind-boggling to the Jet fans sitting next to us. What the fuck was that? What was that? And that's the part of the game that I need more of from Josh. I need more of the thought, just go out there and play. Don't limit yourself, but at the same time, take the simple play if it's there. If it's there, just take it because the team is too good around you to lose if we don't screw it up. We got to give other teams more chances to score, more chances to beat us for us to lose games. We don't lose when we take care of the ball.
Correct. Yeah, no. And again, though, Chris's point earlier, if Josh is a little bit leading James Cook on that one ball, we're not even having this discussion even with the turnovers. If Josh hits that pass to Gabe Davis or makes that one run, we're talking about 2 to 3 plays. We're having a totally different conversation of that's Josh Allen and, he still ended up winning and got us down the field and won the game. And nobody cares. The reason we care so much and we're having so much discussion about this is the way that it looked. And again, I don't think a lot of defenses are going to present the types of challenges that give them the opportunity to be so opportunistic that the Jets presented. I give them a lot of hard time about talking about wanting to be like the 85 Bears going into the season, but they should feel that confident in that they're going to be one of the best defensive units in the entire league, up there with San Francisco, some of these other top tier elite defenses, there's not a lot of these, right? So you're not facing one this weekend. You're facing the probably other half of the league's defense again. So yes, I want Josh to take what is given, but to Chris's point, I think again, 80 something % of that game, Josh was showing that he could do that stuff. This wasn't just a totally erratic performance. It was erratic for 15%. And some of that is, to his point, knocking the rust off. They didn't play all that many reps in the preseason. This is game one. Getting together a lot of new pieces, a new style of offense, adding some young players, and a lot of encouragement, even though how poor the results were and the lack of production was. We talked about it here. Like, Kincaid looks legitimate. I think everybody that watched that game said, hey, let's get that going more. Let's get him more and involved in this offense. That's going to take some time. It's a marathon of a season. I think most people liked what they saw from James Cook and Deontay Hardy and some of these new pieces in the offense and how they're going. And Steph getting his 10 targets. I think everybody walked away thinking you could have thrown to Steph another 5-6 times and just kept feeding him because he's unguardable.
Open all the time.
Those are all, these are all super positives that it's like, okay, now that we're past the Jets and we can settle into the season, I look ahead and think more times than not, even if he's playing this like hero type crazy Josh Allen football that we both love and hate, there's not a lot of teams that are going to stop him from doing the things that he wants to do with the way this offense is structured, even with the mistakes and stuff that Dorsey makes. It's not ever going to be perfect, but it's still going to be good, man. This team's going to put up a lot of points against a lot of defenses and win 10 to 11 games.
The crazy thing is about that, Aaron, is even when you watch that game, had Josh not had those self-inflicted wounds, because, I mean, I understand the Jets have a great defense. I don't think a lot of those mistakes were the Jets baiting him into it. I think it was Josh trying to force the issue or kind of going rogue. But had those, even if, let's say, 2 of them not happened, but if they had not happened at all, you would have looked at this performance and said, holy cow, Josh has figured it out. Josh can matriculate down the field back like when he was with Cole Beasley. He's able to take what's in front of him. And it would have been a completely different perspective on who Josh Allen is now and what the game plan was with Dorsey. So I think that's the most disappointing part for me, is that Josh Allen, outside of those mistakes, was really good. He played really well. He was smart with the ball. He made really nice reads and gave himself a chance to keep going down the field. So I think that's the only thing I would say, is that the perspective on Josh Allen is jaded because of a couple mistakes, but we should be looking at it on both sides.
Yeah, I agree, Thomas. Like, what you said is kind of exactly how I felt. Like, outside of those errors, I didn't think Josh. I'm not saying that Josh. That's why I started. When I started, I said, I still think Josh is one of the best in the league. Like, that I'm not wavering in that. But my issue is not. I know we're going to win 12 games. I know we're going to win 11, 12, 13 games. I know that. I'm sure. But in January, we're playing teams with defenses like this. We're playing like in the playoffs. You're going to go against the Chiefs. You're going to go against the
Bengals.
The Bengals. Yeah, the Bengals. Like, you may go against the Ravens. You may go against the Browns, who look amazing defensively.
I mean, the Jets defense
as well.
is noticeably better than all of those teams that you just mentioned. Plus, the Bills are going to have the whole season, whole regular season under their belts at that point.
Defense. Chris, that Browns defense is really, really
good. Yeah, the Browns defense is really good. You said Bengals, Chiefs, Ravens. I'm not saying that they're pushovers or anything, but the Jets defense is noticeably better than those teams.
Absolutely. But those teams that have noticeably better offenses than the Jets. So it still works out where even if you don't give them 4 opportunities, if you give them 2, you could still lose, because they're going to put up probably double the points, or close, at least an extra 10 points than what the Jets offense is going to put out there. So it still works. Like, we have to. It's no longer about getting to the playoffs for this roster. It's now, and this coaching staff, it's about getting to the Super Bowl, and it's about winning. And if you're gonna get through these games late in January and get to the Super Bowl, you got to beat a Bengals team. You're gonna have to beat a Ravens team. You're gonna have to beat a Chiefs team. You may have to beat. I'm not gonna put the Eagles. They look like crap yesterday. But you're gonna have to
No, we
beat
get
the Niners and the
good
Cowboys.
teams
Like,
go to the playoffs, right? Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
like so. That's what worries me is like we're gonna get through the regular season just fine, but
Yeah.
are these mistakes gonna come back in the playoffs?
Maybe.
That's what worries me.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're valid concerns. We haven't seen the Bills be able to get over that hump in situations, but they also had like the greatest offensive performance in the history of football and still lost the game in the playoffs. That's the problem with the NFL is like, yes, they're all going to be good teams. Yes, it's a one and done scenario. Anything can happen. But the biggest takeaway right now in the immediate for me is Josh Allen gives us the greatest chance that we've ever had in my lifetime to get to that situation, to put yourself in that type of situation. And so I think, again, it matters that every year he lines up the way he's playing currently without changing anything. The conversation we're having, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. I don't think that he does necessarily. He still presents you in that situation to win games, to be the opportunity to get to the Super Bowl just the way he is. And like, yes, maybe you want to clean up some of the efficiencies, and he's shown that he can be that player as well. This is just seems to be more an anomaly. But here, I want to keep the conversation going forward because we only got about 10 minutes here, and Bill's Reddit has been sitting here nice and patiently and quiet, waiting turn. And my kids do it now. My kid just went into kindergarten. He's learning about whole body listening. You were a good whole body listener there, Bill's Reddit. But now the floor is yours.
Thank you. I tried. So I just wanted to talk about one positive that I saw from the game, which was all of the young guys and new additions to this team. If we set aside Spencer Brown for a minute, I thought they all played really well. They were definitely the highlight of the team. Like Leonard Floyd had obviously a huge game. Epinesa had the big tackle for a loss. Dalton Kincaid was just awesome and got a really high snap count. The three running backs, I thought Cook looked really good given the assignment. So there's been so much ado over the past couple of off seasons of just like Brandon Beane doesn't know how to draft and, the misuse of the pick on Elam, which I think is a fair criticism.
Benford, right? Yeah.
Right, yeah. Christian Benford with the absolutely massive play. And he played 100% of the snaps. I thought they might do a rotation at cornerback. It was all him, and he did amazing. So I think that's a good sign for the team going forward, because if we had to pick, like, what was the problem with the team and what do they need to do better in the future, it's all of the guys who have been on the team 4 or 5 years, except Matt Milano, who was all amazing. It's all those old guys. They kind of need to get it together and play at the level that we know they can play at, which is a lot easier than if you had brought in a bunch of new guys who are all a disaster and then your team is full of holes. It's kind of the opposite of that. So I wanted to give Bean some credit there, and just I'm excited for all the new guys that have come onto the team, and the rookies, Kincaid and Torrance, both great. So I think that gives the Bills the opportunity to rebound from this, and just, if Josh Allen gets his brain on straight, then they should be fine going forward.
I love that take and that optimism too, because I also walked away from the game. I made a post about Albert Breer posted about the Bills needing to be in on Saquon Barkley or Jonathan Taylor, and I kind of get so frustrated that the national media is constantly trying to associate the Bills to a top asset running back. And I walked away from that Jets game like wanting more James Cook. Every time I see this guy, I just want to see more. And Chris Kepner, you were on it really early last year trying to get me on it. And now every concern that I had about his game, he present like the vision's there. He's gotten to become a better blocker. His usage in the types of routes that he was running in that game, like I just see the vision, and I don't need else. I need more going his way. And real quick before I toss it to you to run your victory lap on James Cook, Bill's Reddit, another player that I'd like to mention and that we should be praising a little bit more this week, somebody that just got a contract and that people were kind of up in the air about how that contract would play out. Ed Oliver looked fantastic this past weekend in that game, and I'm super excited to see what he can do with that healthy rotation and then in the interior there, because I think he can present some real problems. He didn't necessarily get the production still, but he was a terror when you watched it back. Go ahead, Chris. Talk about James
I appreciate the opportunity. I don't really need a victory lap, but it is definitely cool to see it play out. I mean, that's how I got started at Cover One, was sending a video to you guys of James Cook and his specifically his pass catching ability, which is capped off by those wheel routes that I keep throwing out there. But, to see this development as a blocker that we saw against the Jets, and I mean, he's got that running style that's just so smooth and fluid, and he's getting those like 7-8 yard runs before you even realize it, and finding these creases that they're so tough to see, especially when you're watching on the broadcast. It's really, really cool to see him developing, and I'm excited to see, where the ceiling is with this guy.
Yeah, I was frustrated. It seemed like in the third quarter a little bit when they needed to keep the ball moving, and Josh was getting into situations that were not great for the team, that they went away from the run game, even though I thought it looked good. So when I made that post about, trying to dunk on Breer, I was like, I thought James Cook looked awesome. I had a ton of pushback, and awesome may have been not the right use of the word technically. If you look up the definition of awesome, he was not that, but it was good. Like the runs that he did have and the production that he did have, I can extrapolate that and say, man, if you do more of that and you put him in those positions, I think he can just continue to increase that level of production. I don't think it's crazy to think the small sample size that we've seen from him and the small amount of usage can extrapolate it over
And the
more
usage out of the
production, right?
backfield too. Like I loved how many targets he got in that game.
Yeah.
Just more of that, more Kincaid. There's lots of stuff to look forward to here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a great spot here to end on. If we want to go around the horn here, I did see Jimmy V. Jimmy, if you want to come in and make a point, I got to get bouncing here in a couple minutes, but we'll let everyone go through. You can make predictions, points, push whatever content you guys have coming up. This floor is yours. Jimmy V, if there was a point you want to make, we'll start with you and then work our way through.
Yeah, thanks for making time for me, guys. I just had a quick point, more of a question to you guys. I'm just a little confused with the usage of Stephon Diggs. Listen, I know he had a great day, 10 for 102, 1 touchdown. That's great. That's what you want out of your wide receiver one.
I can't hear Jimmy V if you're talking.
Yeah, I hear him.
So I apologize. Okay, all right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah. The usage of Stephon Diggs, real quick. Yeah, he had a great day, obviously. 10, 102, 1 touchdown. My question is it a Dorsey or an Allen thing that he doesn't have 15 to 20 catches a game? I used to think it was a Dorsey thing last year, and maybe a defense thing where they were just all eyes are on Diggs, or Dorsey not scheming him open. This game one, though, of the 2023 season, he was open and Allen just didn't look at him sometimes. And I just think there's no reason he shouldn't have 15 to 20 catches a game. Listen, I know if the answer is it's week one, we don't want him getting tackled 15, 20 times. I get it. But, I mean, give the man 15 to 20 catches a game. And McDermott's quote after the game saying how they don't have a clear wide receiver 2 yet. I get that. But when have we ever heard that narrative out of Kansas City, right? Like, it's Kelsey and everyone else. And for the Bills, I like the ramping up of Kincaid and Cook. Sure, they can definitely be number 2s. But for me, there's just no reason why Diggs shouldn't have 15 to 20 catches a game. If the answer is it's week 2, we don't want him to get injured, I get it. But get the man 15 catches. To me, he always kind of tops out around 10 to 20 catches. And I think it's more and more evident that it may be on Allen instead of Dorsey, because that last pick when he targeted Gabe Davis, he had Diggs wide open right in front of him on the sticks for a 3rd and 2. If you guys could respond to that, that'd be great, just on the overall usage of Diggs. I think that guy needs 15 to 20 catches a game, no doubt about it.
So, Aaron, just to kind of quickly recap what Jimmy was saying, he thinks that Diggs needs the ball more. And he's wondering whether we think it's a Ken Dorsey issue or a Josh Allen issue. He suspects it's Allen, but he thinks that Diggs should be getting 15, 20 catches a game. I'm not sure what's going on there, but so Jimmy, I thought Diggs got targeted quite a bit, and I see your point. Like, he is. All right, go ahead, Aaron. You want to say something?
Yeah, well, no, I think you're right. Like, he has been. I think the entire time that he's been in Buffalo, I think over the last 5 years here, he's been the number 1 targeted wide receiver in the NFL, up there with Devontae Adams. And so it's hard to look at it in just like a one game, but 10 targets a game. I think if you look over through the average, it's usually between the leader in the NFL will be somewhere between like 10 to 12 targets. in a game, I think. And so like 15 to 20 seems.
If I could say real quick, the NFL record for catches in a season is only 9 catches a game on average. So
Right.
like 15 or 20 catches a game would be just out of this world amount
Yeah,
of
I'm just talking targets even. I think like 11 to 12 targets per game is in line with like number 1 alpha wide receiver, top 5 guy in the whole league. So then to make that 15 catches, I think it's super aggressive. I think they feed him the ball. Again, the problem is the same problem that happens with James Cook, in my opinion, is situationally when you need to score, you need first downs, is getting those people the ball. So like Stephon Diggs is open all the time when you need something to continue to move. So maybe you get him an extra 1 or 2 targets and force it to him when you need something. But I don't know that you need to go otherworldly here. But I do, it is 10-29. So here real quick, I did see Bad Guy requesting, I'm sorry, we got to get bouncing. Thomas, Chris, I don't know if you guys got any content here coming up. Otherwise, I'll rip through what I've got coming up and we can get out of here. But go ahead, guys.
I had a show last night with Dennis Ackerman from Believe in Raiders podcast. He does a show with Sanford Route, ex Raiders Corner. He came on last night and basically previewed the Raiders, what we can expect, matchups, everything in between. Really, really nice conversation. You can check that out.
Awesome. Chris, you got anything coming up this weekend or just hanging out with us on Sunday?
So not this weekend, but next weekend,
All right.
next Saturday, we're going to be doing a watch party for the Notre Dame Ohio State game Saturday night. So over on Playback,
Awesome.
playback.tv/Cover1, or get the Playback app. That's much better. Get the Playback app and search Cover One and join our room. It's free.
For sure. And then Ryder Cup is next weekend too. So maybe we'll
Oh
have
yeah,
to
oh baby, yeah,
talk about that.
90% chance that we do a Ryder Cup thing.
We'll see what's going on. And then obviously this weekend we've got you covered. I talked about the Left Turn 500 block of Main Street home opener party. If you are in town, stop by the 500 block of Main Street. We will be there 12 to 6 having a great party with Bills Mafia. And then on game day, don't forget Air Raid Hour has you covered pregame. Awesome on the Cover One YouTube channel. I tune in every single time. The chat is fantastic over there. Those guys do a great job getting you covered for the game. And then as always, come join Greg and I. No matter whether it's a win or a loss, I think that the conversations that we have always help me settle the game in my head and I can go on with my day. So come join us for an hour or so after the game on the Cover One YouTube channel. We're going to break it down. Win or lose, we'll be there for you. And other than that, make sure you're following everybody at Cover One here on Twitter, on social media, wherever you are, because we are working hard to give you guys the coverage you need. So appreciate everybody coming out for Spaces, and I hope you enjoy this beautiful Buffalo Bills Football Friday, guys. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Let's go.